All right. Good morning, everyone. We'll get started. We'll get rolling here with volleyball, who opened up the season this past weekend, going 1-2 at the Western Michigan tournament. They opened up with a five-set loss to Villanova, followed by a 3-0 sweep over Milwaukee before dropping a hard-fought 3-1 match to Western Michigan. The weekend featured the collegiate debuts of three Panthers, plus two making their UNI debuts, and others who saw significant time for the first time in their careers. They'll be back in action again this weekend as they head to Creighton for the Blue Jay Invitational with another tough slate. All four teams that are going to be competing all made the NCAA tournament a year ago. Friday against LSU at 3:30, Saturday versus Ball State at 2:30, and Sunday 2:30 against number 18 Creighton. All matches will be online on Flow Volleyball and, of course, on the Panther Sports Radio Network. Here's Coach Peterson.
All right. Well, it's very difficult to recap every match. So if you have any specific questions about the matches, I would be glad to talk about that. But just in general, I think if you look at just the record, I do feel like we felt like we could have come out of that better than 1-2. But what I would say about tournaments like this, it's just a really good opportunity in the preseason to do a lot of different things. And we saw three very different teams. So our kids got a chance to work offense, work defense against three very different types of teams, types of things that they're running at us. So I thought that was a huge positive for us. When you look at the Villanova match, that's one I think feel strongly we could have had. But it's the first match of the season. I felt like it was the first match of the season. And usually throughout the match, you try to work out some of those things. And I just felt like we never quite got out of that first match feeling. But I have to give our team a ton of credit. There's definitely one thing this team has fight. We were down 8-14 in the fifth set. We were able to tie it up and give ourselves a chance to win that set. Unfortunately, we didn't pull it off, but anytime you can fight back in a situation like that, you know your team has some grit and fight. So it was really good to see that. We were able to come back and beat Wisconsin-Milwaukee in 3, and then I thought we played our best volleyball of the weekend against Western Michigan, even though we didn't come up with the win. They're a very good, veteran, solid team, and there was some really good volleyball being played at that time. So just in general, there was a lot of different people that got time on the court this weekend, which I talked about last week. That was going to be the case, and I can tell you we're going to still continue to work through what a lineup's going to look like, some different things that we can do, get the opportunity to practice some different things this week, obviously in practice. I felt we're a super balanced team and have the opportunity to continue to do that. I think we have 5 players right now that are averaging over 2 kills per set, which is great for us. We hit 199, which is a number we definitely want higher. We're looking for more like the 250 range, and there's a lot of different things that go into that or can go into that, and I will tell you all those things go into that right now. So whether it's just missing a shot or not being able to better the situation, we've had a few or all those things happening to contribute to that number. But I know that number is going to continue to get better. I thought serving-wise, look for serving to be a strength for ours this season. We do have to figure out a way to limit errors a little bit more. We're going to make errors because we are an aggressive serving team, but there's timing involved with that. There's just times where you have to put in your serve. There's times where you can be a little bit more aggressive. And then obviously there's a number you don't want to go past and missing. But I feel really good about our serving. We just have a few things to work with that. As far as just personnel, I won't talk about specific people, but if you have questions about specific people, I'd be glad to answer those. Going into this weekend, a super tough weekend. LSU is who we have first. SEC powerhouse. I got to see some video on them. They played UCLA twice this weekend and split with them, both of those sets going 5. A very physical, athletic team. They returned 2 SEC conference players, but they also have some good transfers and a freshman that is absolutely lighting it up. So they will definitely be the most physical team we play this weekend. Ball State, just to give you a little idea, they are the MAC West Division preseason pick for first, and Western Michigan is behind them. So that kind of gives you an idea of how good they are. Just a veteran team again, 3 all-conference returners. Their setter and libero are amazing. So definitely a good, solid team. And then obviously Creighton, who's ranked in the top 20. year in and year out, does a great job. We've played them a lot. We know them well. Just because you know a team well doesn't mean you can always stop them, though. So just very good team that just has all parts of the game. And I think I say that every time when I come up here and talk about Creighton. 2 outside hitters that are over 4 kills per set. They're balanced after that. Their setter, one of the best setters in my mind in the country, and always a really good defensive and serving team. So definitely have a lot to prepare for this weekend. But I think overall, we got better each time we stepped on the court, and that is definitely a goal of ours. Sometimes when you see all the things that you want to be better, you can get overloaded and just try for so much at once, but we have to be able to focus in on just getting a little bit better each time we step on the court, knowing what our goals are for the end of the season. So excited to get back into practice and work on some of those things. Any questions?
What were some of your thoughts on Olivia Chernogel's performance, and in particular doing so in her first extended action as a middle blocker?
Yeah, Olivia is one of those players I talked about. She could really play middle or right for us. She's our best middle. She's our best right. And we not only had her play middle, but she was in the M1 spot, so it puts a little bit more pressure because you're up there with the setter twice. But she was, in my mind, phenomenal this weekend. And what I loved about her is, she has her own things to worry about in her home game, but she's one of the veteran people out there, even though she's not veteran in her position, but she is just doing a really good job of leading the way. When we get into these matches, we do want to have game plans. Some of our players come in and they don't really have an idea of how to do a game plan. They have never had to do anything like that before, so she does a really good job of taking control and helping those younger kids out. She's somebody that right now, blocking wise and offensively, we are trying to find ways, and actually Leanna too. Both of our middles were great at being options even when it wasn't a perfect situation. You heard me talk about that a lot last year with Carly and Inga, but just really proud of their effort to work hard to be a legit option in transition.
Now, how much have you been learning over those first few matches about not just Taylor and Sydney, but just how the offense is flowing depending on which one is on the floor?
Yeah, it's cool because they're both very different, but they're close enough at certain things that you feel good about putting both of them in, because sometimes that is one of the reasons people or teams don't run 6-2s, because you have setters that are so different, and so working on that connection with your hitters can be a real challenge when you go from one setter to the other. And I think both of them have their strengths that are going to really help our team, but both of them have enough things that they do well in terms of running certain offenses and running our middles. That's probably the toughest connection that we can play them both. But very proud of both of them. I think they both played to their strengths this weekend, which is definitely something we're going to need moving forward. Okay.
I had the impossible task of picking out 5 teams and 7 players to watch in high school volleyball in the area last week. Maybe you're familiar with 2 of the players on that list, but
Okay.
When looking at recruiting in this area, is there a better part of the country to just be operating in terms of recruiting?
Yeah, we definitely have a lot of great players in the area, and it's so much fun because it didn't always used to be that way. And in fact, we've been a school that has always recruited Iowa kids, and part of it is because of their abilities, part of it is because of the good high school coaching that they get, and part of it is because they're just gritty ballers, and that's what we look for. We like people that want to work hard, but unfortunately now the rest of the country is recruiting Iowa players too. So but just a lot of great players out there. I think that's the one tough thing. I mean, there was a great tournament in Ankeny this weekend. I would have loved to have been there. I think that's the hard thing about having our season. Obviously at the same time, we don't get to see a lot of those matches. We go back and they're on huddle, so we get to see some of that. But a lot of great volleyball in the area, and it's going to be a fun season this year in high school. Good luck to you. All right. Thank you.
All right, moving on to soccer. Panthers are coming off a pair of games last week, which included a thrilling 3-2 come-from-behind victory against Southern Utah last Tuesday and a scoreless draw at Western Illinois on Thursday. The Panthers, who are unbeaten at 3-0-1, will return home tomorrow to host St. Ambrose at 4 o'clock, and then we'll also host Omaha on Sunday at 1. Here's Coach Erickson.
Thank you. So, yes, 4 games in 8 days took a lot out of us, but to get out of that 3-0-1, I think we're pretty thrilled with that. No injuries, pretty healthy. Made it through the heat, which I think with our opponents took a lot out of the quality of the games, but I thought our girls did a really, really good job of doing their best and working through something that they often don't have to work through. So with that behind us, we get a little bit more of a normal week where we played just 2 games. So we've got a big one with UNI on the weekend and a good game with St. Ambrose tomorrow. So both at home, hope to keep it going. So questions?
What do you know about St. Ambrose and how you match up with them?
We play them every year, and they're a good NEI squad. I think we've played a couple this year so far. One in an exhibition, and then one in a game with Viterbo. And I think I'm big on giving teams like that an opportunity to play, and they usually match up very, very well. They come out with just great intensity and attitude, and hopefully, for us that we can work on some things and compete with them. And but other than an opportunity, it's another game for us to get better, and so that's our approach. But we know that they're a talented team. They've done very well at their level, and we're looking forward to the game.
Are you a little more used to the no overtime thing? You played the draw last week, obviously was a new thing last year in college soccer. Or are you a little more used to what you can take away from the draw this year as compared to being a new thing last year?
Yeah, I think we are, and I think particularly with Western Illinois' tie, playing that at 8:00 at night, it was still over 100 degrees. I couldn't imagine having played another 20 minutes of overtime. But yeah, I think we're getting used to it. I think you're making adjustments. The Southern Utah game was a great example. I think to get 2 goals in the last 2.5 minutes, one with 57 seconds left to basically win it. That would have been a game where you really would have liked to have played overtime. I think the issue with overtime for me comes down to more the Thursday games. When you're playing Thursday and then you're turning around having to play Sunday. It used to be Friday, Sunday. That's where I think you see it the most. I think Sunday you got a day off the next day. I think going a little bit longer, but we're used to it. I think we just you play through it knowing your substitution in the second half's a little bit different. So you go through knowing that those 45 are going to be the 45 you got to get it done in. So you see the game out and as was the case on Thursday, getting a clean sheet, we were happy to move on to the next one. So
2 goals surrendered through 4 games. How much of that is having a senior in net for you guys, and how much of that is keeping the pressure away from her?
I think it's a little bit of both. There's just a confidence back there with Caitlin, and Allison Whitaker is one of our seniors too, and it's a group that's played together. We've got a freshman back there, but I think they'd tell you that they wish it was 0 conceded goals. But yeah, that's going to be a big part of what we do is the success of our back four and our goalkeeper and keeping the ball out of the net. So we're pleased with the shutout so far and want to keep that going. All right. Thank you.
Okay, moving right along. 2 sports will officially kick off their 2023 seasons this week, and cross country is going to be the first starting Friday as they head to Iowa State for the Cyclone preview. The women's 5K will begin at 8:30 in the morning, followed by the men's 6K at 9 o'clock. Very young team of plenty of freshmen to join this year's squad. First up to speak, however, is going to be director of the program, Coach Paulson. I almost forgot your name. It's like, don't ready for it now.
We'll get Coach Tubal up here to preview the cross-country season pretty quick, but just wanted to kind of talk about what happened in Budapest over this last week with Brandon Carnes, former UNI Panther, 16-time Valley champ that graduated, I think, in like 2018, I think. Yeah, 2018 was his senior year here. He made Team USA in the 4x1, and they won the World Championship this weekend here in the third leg. And I just want to talk about him a little bit and his resiliency and what he's done since he's left UNI. And just so proud of him and his efforts to stick with it, make the world team, and then to be, the world champion. It just goes to show that you can accomplish the biggest things in what your sport has to offer, whether it's starting at UNI or doing your time at Northern Iowa. It's a great place to be to set you up for the future, and Brandon has done nothing but represent this school and our program at the highest level ever since he stepped foot. 16 for 16 on individual titles, and then to see him make the world team, which I think he's only the third athlete in program history to make a world championship team. Joey Woody back in the early 2000s, Jacob Pauly did it in 2007, and then Brandon Carnes did it here, and the lone world champion out of the group. And so just proud of his efforts, and can't wait to see what happens as Paris is a quick turnaround, and he'll be getting geared up to try to do this again. So that's it with that, and we'll get Alex up here to preview. Yeah.
Was that the most thrilling, 38, 39 seconds in your life there?
It was it was pretty close, and you just asked my wife what was happening in that moment in my house. It was pretty screaming at the TV. And when he handed off to Noah Lyles, it was just like, I was just like, it's game over. Like, no one's catching Noah. It's just cool. The whole team was really cool because it's like Christian Coleman was an individual 100-meter world champion, handed off to Fred Curley, who was an individual world champion, to Brandon, who then handed off to Noah Lyles, who was this current year's world champion in the 100 and 200. And so to have your name and the likes of those guys and just kind of see the camaraderie that they built was just super special. And I'm still smiling, and I think my social media feed will probably be full of Brandon Carnes and Team USA for probably about another week until our cross country team runs this week, and then we'll shift gears again. But yeah, super exciting for him. First and foremost, is great for him individually, and then just the level of impact he had on this program, and the standard he set for the sprints group that was carried on since he's been here has been terrific. So yeah. So anyway, now we'll get to cross country.
So as Joel mentioned, we are at Iowa State this Friday. This is actually the first year that they're hosting this meet. They're hosting Big 12s this year, so they wanted to have the opportunity to open up the course for everyone early this fall. It's going to be a really small meet. I believe it's just us, Iowa State, and then Drake. Unfortunately, Drake's not bringing their women's team, so on the women's side, it might be about 20 athletes, and then on the men's side, we'll probably have around 30 competing. So more than anything, this first meet is going to be a bit of a glorified practice. We're really going to work on working together as a team, running as a pack, and then racing that last 1 or 2K. So really excited to get all of our new freshmen out in the purple and gold. I believe we'll have 6 freshmen competing on the men's side and then 5 freshmen on the women's side. So that's basically the size of our men's roster from last year. So we're really excited to break out some newbies this week. Really excited with what I've seen from the returners and the newcomers so far in practice. It's been a really, really great first couple weeks, and so we're just really excited to get on the course on Friday. The weather is looking pretty nice for us as well. So last week we dealt with quite a bit of heat, so it's going to feel really nice running in 60-degree temps on Friday morning. So then we head to Illinois State 2 weeks after that, and then our season really gets going. So this first one's just kind of breaking off some dust, getting some competitive efforts in, and then we really get the season started here in a couple weeks. So.
How big is it just having so many people on a team this season?
It's just been really nice in terms of, takes a little bit of pressure off of the upperclassmen who, last year kind of had to do this on their own. And, it's just been really nice. Like yesterday, we had such huge packs in both of the long run groups, and that was just really exciting to see. And, just having a lot of different personalities has been really fun. And it definitely brings a lot more competitiveness to the group, which is, all we can ask. So really excited about it.
How much did last week's weather impact? Did you have to, or did you just have to get creative on how you train?
Yeah, so we went very early in the morning every day last week. Our Sunday long run last Sunday was a bit painful for most, so quite humid. It was tough. You got the freshmen living in the dorms. luckily they have really nice upperclassmen teammates who kind of shared some couches for them. So yeah, training was a little bit impacted, but luckily, like for our hard workout days, it actually ended up being pretty decent. So we were able to get in some hard efforts that didn't take too much out of them. And then on the easier recovery days, you know, we were early enough in the morning that, yeah, it wasn't, you know, ideal, but we still got in the good work that we needed to get in. Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
All right, and to wrap up today's press conference, as I mentioned, 2 sports kicking off this season. Football is finally back, beginning this Saturday as the 20th ranked Panthers kick off the season at Iowa State. Saturday, 1 o'clock in Ames, as UNI looks for their first win against the Cyclones since 2016. The game will be streamed on Big 12 Now and ESPN Plus, as well as the Panther Sports Radio Network, with JW and Petey here to preview the season opener. Coach Farley.
All right, guys, go ahead.
Well, Coach, how about just that transition from fall camp to practicing for week 1? You know, that transition, what stood out with your football team?
We had to get in rhythm with classes and just spending less time together when we had all day. You know, we could get a lot done, and I speak to that because I've always told you we've got experienced players. We just don't have experience playing with each other. So once we got into school week, it became more like a game week, and there were some challenges we had to fight through there to get our rhythm. So now it's this week will be very important to get in rhythm because we didn't quite have that last week as we had during camp. And but hopefully we're through that now. We're in a regular game week, and it's time to make your run into the season.
Have you been able to answer any questions through preseason camp, or is it a case of you got to get out on the field to start answering some of that questions?
No, I think we've answered some questions. I mean, of course, you got to get on the field to really find out. But I think we found out a lot about our players. I had to find out some of what their personalities were like under stress. You know, everybody looks good when everything's going well. It's like when the adversity, when the stress hit, when adversity sets in, how do you respond to your environment or to the people that you're dealing with? So that's what we tried to find out more about our team last weekend when we scrimmaged and did some things and created a game type situation. And you know, Mother Nature also plays a factor in this because we weren't allowed to go outside last week, and by doing so, you know, we got to get back outside this week. So Mother Nature did definitely have a factor into prep last week, and then we went out on Friday. And when you're not out there for a while and you hit the heat, it does have a factor into your practice.
Are you adjusting that all this week? As it looks like we're going to hit some pretty big highs the next couple of days again here, I believe.
We're going out no matter what. We can't afford to stay in, and we need to get outside. We've got a great field. We had great practices outside. I think our guys want to go outside. But last week, being a week out from the game and with the high temperatures, it wasn't to drain them and get them, you know, you got to keep the liquids in them, that type of stuff as you do this week. But I didn't think we had to go through maybe losing a player because of heat when we can install some more things last week. So we have to deal with it this week. I mean, nobody's going to stop the game from being played on Saturday, and that's how we have to prepare. Their O-line or our O-line? Okay, yeah. I just see a lot of ors in all the things. It's either or for us and for them. So I think we're all trying to figure out who the two deep is on both sides of the ball. But you know, that's a work in progress. And you know, you got Jared Penning who is you know, he's really had a good camp. And hope to have him have a great season as well. But he's had a really good camp. Chase Aarons is always consistency, making the right calls, gets everybody lined up, and that helps the younger people around him that maybe hadn't been playing, gives them a chance just to play and not have to worry about making calls. So Chase is in the right spot to help neutralize some of the communication errors that might happen, and Jarrett's in the right spot because of the talent that he has and the ability that he has playing the left tackle. So feel comfortable, but you know, time's going to tell how that shakes out once we play a real game.
How about at your running back position with
Well, it's just I see what we had saw from Harrison last year. I mean, he's a tough power runner that is very dedicated to the offense and to his teammates. Ty is the one that we don't know as much about, but Ty is everything that we've done with him, he's been productive at. Now, how he responds in the heat of the battle, that's what none of us know right now. We're trying to find out and gauge how it works because if he can stay within his game, there's a reason we have him listed as an either or starter for us because we think he has that kind of talent. So again, you're going to need two running backs. We've never had a great team that didn't have two really good running backs. So we lost two great ones last year, and we need to roll with these two this year. And then you still have Josh Jenkins that's capable of going out and do some things too. But we'll roll with Harrison and Ty. And like you said, when you don't tackle live or you're very limited that way, ball security and all those types of things are stressed every day, but they have to be executed on Saturday. I like Corey. Corey came in here as really good talent, very consistent talent, and when I watch him play, when I watch the film, when he's not watching, meaning sometimes you always put on a show on the scrimmage day. Every day for him, he's technique sound. He's adapted to the way we do things here and what we ask of that position, and if he can remain in that zone of how we do it with the techniques that we use, he fits everybody else around him. And sometimes that's hard to do with a transfer is, they've been taught for 3, 4, or 5 years how to do it a different way within their system. So he has to fit the other 10 guys on the field. It isn't our system. He's got to fit the other 10. And that's the key to anybody, whether it's Ty at running back or Corey at corner. They've got to fit the other 10 guys. And when they do that, they'll fit our system because the system is the unit. We've practiced them both. Both have a different skill set. Both are capable of doing things. I think Aiden, coming off last year, very competitive, the type of player that he is. But Matt's had a really good camp. He was a true freshman last year, so his spring was the first time, and he's really came a long ways as far as getting the ball out on time, making good throws, making good choices with the football. So he stood out that way that he stepped up into the role that he could be the guy, or Aiden as well. But I think Aiden's kind of got some playing experience from last year and some things that he had already done for us. But Matt is the one that kind of stepped up to the challenge and put himself in that position. Well, Dell was, that was another one that stepped up. That there was hope that he'd step into that position after last year because I really felt that he'd played behind Sapp, and he had done a lot of great things. All the way back to the beginning of the season, I thought he might play last year, but then everything kind of evolved the way it did, but he came into camp and really worked hard, and again, daily came out and consistently made plays and was in position that we need him in this defense. And that position better be consistent because if we just, it's more so, there has to be talent, that's obvious. But, man, you better be where you belong within the system amongst the other 10 playing that free safety spot, or otherwise the defense will fall apart in a hurry. And he is committed that I know when I go to sleep at night that, man, he's going to be where he's taught to be. And we know how to work within the system with him at safety, and because he's consistently shown me where he belongs in it. So it's always, I'm trying to say this in layman's terms, that, man, if I don't know where they're going in a consistent way, it's hard to build a defense around them. And if we can play to his strength, which we are, and he consistently will do it day in and day out, then we know how to build that defense with him being a part of it. I don't think so. I mean, I think it's been out there long enough now that this isn't any surprise to anybody. It's just, and it doesn't surprise me that it's either or. So I would expect to see all of them. If so, we just have to. In the first game, it's always difficult, even if you had the starting quarterback back there. What were they going to do? So I think it's more so they've got some new coaches there. They've got a new offensive coordinator. He's built around with Ryan Clanton down there. I think that's probably more concerning than it is which quarterback is going to play, just because of what are they going to do and how are they going to adjust their system to fit the coaches as much as the players they have. So there's a lot of unknowns right there, coaches and players alike. So we've kind of prepared in that way that they're not going to change a ton, but yet there will be something we have to adjust to throughout the game.
You mentioned coaches there. Obviously, one came from here. You know how good Coach Clanton is. So obviously, you can improve that line. But is there also any advantage to knowing how he operates and what he does?
We know him. I mean, but at the same time, he knows us, and the neutralization factor is he knows about our offense and our defense, and we know about his offense. So check mark to them. So he probably gives them a lot more value in a staff room than maybe the other way around. So he's a good coach and happy for him. So I know he's probably excited for this football game as his players will be, because he's a very emotional guy that loves the game. And you put the factor that this is the only other school he's been at, I'm sure he's going to be really excited to play his first game against the school he came from.
Last year had a FBS team start the season, but really seemed like that caused some difficulty early on. What's the plan to kind of avoid that kind of wavy start going up against another FBS team?
I got no answer for that till after the game. I don't know. We've proved out again. I think we're rated as the second strongest schedule in FCS. I mean, when I saw that released, guys had sent me that. I'm going, we're the strongest schedule, I think, the last 7 years in a row, top 2 in the country every time. So is it any different than any other year? No. Is it probably more, how do I say it, more common to play Iowa State instead of Air Force? I think that's a big difference alone, just in getting ready for that style of offense. So there's more of a balancing factor playing Iowa State than it is Air Force, but at the same time, right behind them is Weber, and right behind them is Idaho State. So this is the first game. This is the only game that matters right now, and it's always fun, and fun's a good word for it. It's always fun and very enjoyable to play at Iowa State and at Jack Trice, because I just think it's a great venue, great fan base, and being in our own state, I just think that's one of the better games that probably is the best game in the state of Iowa over the years is that one, when you go look at the fan base and the quality of games that have been played.
We've talked about new starters at other positions besides linebacker, where you've got you guys starting there, Brandon Tucker, Josiah. Just in terms of what have you seen from them, particularly in the game prep, getting ready for that first opponent?
That's probably that's a position that to keep an eye on too is the linebacker core, because again you've got Josiah's a very good talent, redshirt freshman. Delshawn, redshirt freshman, but he's a secondary guy. You got Tucker. What is he? I think he's a redshirt freshman, sophomore. So there's a lot of youth there. But like I said at the beginning, there's experience there. It's just not game experience with the guys they've been playing with, and that's a very vocal position. It's not just D-line can line up and play. Corners can line up and play. Linebackers have to communicate with the secondary and the defensive line. And you have to do it within seconds of the opponent getting lined up. So there's a lot of thought, there's a lot of urgency, and there's a lot of communication that goes on there is probably the challenge of any young player. It's not so much the play as it is getting yourself ready to play before the snap, with all the things you have to do to process to get to the snap of the ball just to go make the play. So that's where the urgency has to happen very quickly for them, and the learning curve has to skyrocket for those players, because they'll be in the game, they'll be excited to be in the game. they just got to get in rhythm with the game. Anybody else? All right. Thanks, guys.
Love that the energy's high this week. Two quick notes before I let you go. The women's basketball non-conference schedule has now been released in full, available on the website. The Valley schedule will come out hopefully here in the next month and a half. Additionally, next Monday's press conference, even though I haven't confirmed this yet, will likely be moved to next Tuesday due to the Labor Day holiday. So enjoy your Mondays off if you get it. So thanks, everybody.